A girl sees a dirty girl rummaging through the trash and says to her billionaire father, "Dad, she looks just like me." He is shocked and discovers something unbelievable. The chocolate milkshake was melting as Jack Miller pushed open the diner's door. The bell above the entrance jingled, blending with the usual street noises. Cars passing by, people chatting, life moving at its normal pace on a Tuesday afternoon. "Dad, can I carry it?" Olivia stretched out her little arms toward the large cup, her eyes shining with anticipation. "Sure, princess, but be careful. It's heavy." She grabbed the cup with both hands, concentrating as if it were the most important mission in the world. Jack smiled, watching his daughter's seriousness. At 5 years old, Olivia turned any simple task into a grand adventure. The afternoon was pleasant, not too hot, not too cold, perfect for a leisurely walk through downtown. Jack took a deep breath, savoring these rare moments. His accounting office consumed most of his days, so a free afternoon with his daughter was a precious gift. "My hand's getting cold," Olivia complained, but held the cup firmly. "Want me to hold it for a bit?" "No need. I can do it myself." Always independent. Jack recognized that stubbornness. He was exactly the same at her age. They walked slowly down the main street. The house had become quieter since Lauren left 2 years ago. These walks with Olivia were the highlight of his week. The street was busy for a Tuesday afternoon. People leaving work early, students coming home from school, mothers pushing strollers. Typical hustle of a small town where everyone knows each other. They passed the pharmacy where Jack always bought headache medicine, past the clothing store where Olivia always stopped to admire a blue dress in the window, past the bank where Jack paid the bills at the end of every month. "Dad, look!" Olivia pointed to a dog sitting at the bakery door. "He's waiting for his owner just like Rex waits for us." Jack smiled. Rex was the neighbor's dog who always waited at the gate for Olivia to come home from school. That's right. Dogs are that loyal. "When I grow up, I want a dog just like Rex. One day, we'll get you a dog. Promise. I promise." It was an afternoon like many others. Simple, peaceful, without surprises, until everything changed in a matter of seconds. Olivia stopped so abruptly that Jack almost tripped over her. The milkshake wobbled dangerously in her small hands. "Careful, love. What's wrong?" But she didn't answer. She was staring across the street, eyes wide as if she'd seen a ghost. Her mouth was slightly open in a total look of shock. Jack followed his daughter's gaze, curious to see what had caught her attention so much. And in that moment, his world completely stopped. On the other side of the sidewalk, near a trash bin, a girl was crouched down, rummaging through garbage bags scattered on the ground. She looked about Olivia's age, maybe a little younger. Her clothes were dirty and wrinkled. Her brown hair was messy, as if it hadn't been brushed for days. But it wasn't that which made Jack's blood run cold, it was her face. "Dad," Olivia's voice came out as a scared whisper. "She looks just like me." Jack felt as if someone had punched him in the stomach. He blinked several times, thinking he must be seeing things, some kind of hallucination, but he wasn't. The girl across the street had the exact same face shape as Olivia, the exact same light brown hair, the exact same small upturned nose, the exact same curve of the lips. It was as if someone had taken Olivia and made a perfect copy of her. Jack felt his legs grow weak. His heart started pounding so loudly he could hear it in his ears. This couldn't be real. It couldn't be happening. The girl lifted her head at that moment, as if sensing she was being watched. When her eyes met Olivia's, she froze completely, like a statue. Jack saw the same shock pass across her face, the same expression of absolute surprise Olivia had. For several seconds, that felt like an eternity. The two girls stared at each other in complete silence. It was as if they were looking at a living mirror right in front of them. "Dad, are you seeing this?" Olivia grabbed the sleeve of his shirt tightly, unable to take her eyes off the girl. "She looks exactly like me." Jack couldn't speak. His throat was tight. His mind was in total panic, trying to process something that seemed impossible. How could there be a child identical to his daughter? Millions of questions exploded in his head. Who was this girl? Where had she come from? Why was she alone on the street? And why did she look like an exact copy of Olivia? The girl across the street kept looking at them for a few more seconds, her eyes full of confusion and fear. Then suddenly, as if waking from a trance, she stood up quickly, grabbed a small dirty bag from the ground, and ran down the sidewalk, disappearing among the crowd. "Hey, wait!" Olivia stepped forward, reaching out as if wanting to call the girl back. Jack reacted instinctively, holding his daughter's arm. "No, Olivia, let's get out of here." "But Dad, did you see?" I saw." Jack started walking quickly, almost dragging Olivia. His heart was pounding so hard it felt like it would explode. "We need to go home. Now." Why did she run? Was she scared? Jack didn't know what to say. He was in complete shock himself. His legs were trembling, his breathing was heavy. "Dad, are you okay? You look pale." Jack stopped in the middle of the sidewalk and took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. A few people passed by, looking curiously. "I'm fine, love. It was very strange to see someone who looked so much like you." "Strange?" Olivia looked at him with those big, innocent eyes. "I didn't think it was strange. I thought it was amazing. Like having a twin sister I didn't know I had." Her words struck Jack like a lightning bolt. "Twin sister, why did she say exactly that?" "Olivia, you don't have a twin. You were born alone, remember?" "I know, Dad. But that's what it seemed like when I looked at her." When they got to the car, Jack was trembling so much he barely managed to put the key in the lock. He helped Olivia into the back seat and then sat behind the wheel but couldn't start the engine. His hands were shaking uncontrollably. "Dad, why are you shaking?" Jack looked in the rearview mirror and saw his daughter's worried eyes. "Just a little nervous, love. It'll pass." But it wasn't passing. If anything, the shock was getting worse. Now that he was away from the girl, Jack began to question his own sanity. On the drive home, Jack drove on autopilot, glancing in the rearview mirror every few seconds, as if expecting to see the girl running after the car. Olivia stayed quiet in the back seat, staring out the window. Jack could almost hear her thoughts working. "Dad? Yes. Where do you think that girl lives?" The simple question from his daughter made Jack's stomach twist. "I don't know, love. Does she have a mom and dad?" "Everyone has a family. Olivia. Then why was she alone rummaging through the trash?" Jack had no answer. The image of the girl alone on the street was burned into his mind. The dirty clothes, the messy hair, the desperate way she searched through the garbage bags. "I don't know why she was there, Olivia." When they got home, they sat in the car for a moment, in complete silence. "Dad." "Hi. Can we go by there tomorrow, just to see if she's okay?" Olivia's innocent question made Jack's heart race again. Part of him wanted to say no, to forget everything that had happened. But another part of him, a part growing stronger every minute, knew he wouldn't be able to forget. He knew he needed to see the girl again. "We'll see," he said, getting out of the car. Inside the house, Jack tried to keep a normal routine. Olivia turned on the TV and sat on the floor to watch her cartoons. He went to the kitchen to start preparing dinner, but his hands trembled as he chopped vegetables. His mind couldn't focus on anything other than the image of the girl. "Is dinner ready?" Olivia appeared in the kitchen doorway. "Almost. Go change your clothes while I finish." During dinner, neither of them ate much. Olivia stirred her food on the plate, clearly lost in thought. "Dad?" "Yes. Why did that girl look so much like me?" The question Jack had been waiting for and dreading. He stopped eating and looked at his daughter. "Sometimes people look alike, love. It happens. But she didn't just look like me." Olivia put down her fork. "It was like looking in a mirror, exactly the same." Jack felt a chill down his spine. "Are you sure?" "Absolutely sure. Her hair, her eyes, her face shape, even the way she crouched was just like mine." Olivia got excited. "Maybe she was born on the same day as me." Jack almost dropped his glass of water. Why are you asking that? Because the teacher said at school that sometimes people born on the same day look alike, that there's a special connection. Jack's heart raced. The teacher said that she did. She said twins sometimes are born in different places and only meet when they grow up. Jack couldn't breathe properly. Olivia, you're not a twin. You were born alone. I know that, Dad. But what if the teacher is right about people born on the same day? Jack didn't know what to say. His mind was racing, trying to remember every detail of the day Olivia was born. Hey, Dad, do you remember exactly the day I was born? The question hit like a bomb. Of course I do. What was it like? Jack took a deep breath, trying to control the shake in his voice. You were born early in the morning. I took your mom to the hospital the night before because she started having pains. You took a little while to come out, but when you did, you were perfect. And Mom, how was she? She was very tired. Giving birth is very hard. Was I small? You were just the right size. Olivia smiled, but then got serious again. Dad, why was that girl alone on the street? I don't know if she was really alone. Maybe her parents were nearby. They weren't. I looked all around. There was no adult with her. Olivia paused. She looked like she knew what she was doing, like it was normal for her. Her observation made Jack feel even worse. He had had the same impression. The girl didn't look lost. She looked used to being alone. Dad? Yes. Can we go by there again tomorrow, just to see if she's okay? Jack hesitated. Part of him wanted to protect Olivia from the whole situation, but another part of him, a part growing stronger, knew he wouldn't be able to stay away. He needed to see the girl again. He needed to understand what was going on. Maybe, he said. After dinner, they sat on the couch to watch TV. Olivia snuggled next to her dad, but Jack could barely focus. His mind was consumed by the image of the girl, the shock of seeing her, the impossible resemblance, the unanswered questions. Dad, do you think I'll see her again? Jack looked down. Olivia's big eyes were fixed on him, full of curiosity. Why do you want to see her again? Because, Olivia thought for a moment, because I feel like I need to. You know when you feel something is important, even if you don't know why. Jack knew exactly what she meant, because he felt the same way. Later, after putting Olivia to bed, Jack was alone in the living room. The TV was on, but he wasn't watching. His mind had gone back to the day Olivia was born. He remembered arriving at the hospital with Lauren in the middle of the night. She had started having contractions after dinner. They rushed to the hospital, nervous and excited. He remembered waiting outside the delivery room for hours. The doctors had said it might take a while, so he went to the cafeteria for coffee. When he returned, Olivia had already been born. Lauren was in bed holding the baby, but she looked different, very quiet, distant. Is everything okay? He had asked. Everything's fine, she had replied, but without looking at him, Jack remembered feeling that something was wrong at that moment, something unspoken that he couldn't identify. At the time, he attributed it to exhaustion. Lauren had just been through a difficult labor, but now, 5 years later, that feeling came back strong. What if there was something about that day he didn't know? Something important Lauren never told him. Jack got up and went to Olivia's room. She was sleeping deeply, hugging her teddy bear. In the dark, she looked even younger and more fragile. He stood there looking at his daughter, feeling a mix of love and fierce protectiveness, but also feeling fear. Fear of what he might discover. Fear that his whole life had been built on a lie. Fear that there was something about Olivia he never knew. The image of the girl on the street came back to his mind with devastating force. Her face, the impossible resemblance, the instant recognition. Jack kissed Olivia's forehead and left the room. Tomorrow, he would return to that street. Because, like it or not, he needed to find out the truth. Jack barely slept the night before. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the girl's face. The resemblance to Olivia was impossible to forget. When the alarm went off at 6 in the morning, he had been awake for an hour, staring at the ceiling and thinking about what he had seen. Olivia woke up full of her usual energy, asking for pancakes at breakfast and telling about a strange dream she had about flying horses. Jack tried to keep the conversation normal, but his mind was completely elsewhere. "Dad, you're kind of quiet today," Olivia noticed as she cut her pancake into tiny pieces. "Just thinking about some work stuff, love." It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the whole truth either. What really occupied his thoughts was the decision he had made during the night. He was going back to that street. He needed to see the girl again, if only to prove to himself he wasn't imagining things. After dropping Olivia off at school, with a goodbye kiss at the gate and her cheerful wave from the classroom window, Jack drove straight downtown. His heart raced with every block closer to the place where they had seen the girl the day before. Traffic was heavy because of the morning rush hour. Cars lined up, people rushing to work, the typical noise of a city waking up. But Jack's mind was focused on one thing only: finding that girl. He parked across the street and stayed in the car for a few minutes, watching the activity. The street was busy with people going to work, shops opening their doors, street vendors setting up their stalls. Life carrying on as usual on any morning. But there was no sign of the girl. Jack waited for almost an hour. With each passing minute, he began to think maybe she wouldn't come back. Maybe it was just a coincidence she was there yesterday. Maybe she had left for good. He was about to give up and go to work when he finally saw her. She appeared coming from a side street, walking slowly with the same small, worn bag as yesterday. Wearing exactly the same dirty, wrinkled clothes, the same messy brown hair. When she reached the trash bin where Jack had first seen her, she crouched and began rummaging through the garbage bags on the ground. Jack got out of the car with his heart pounding. He had bought some sandwiches and a bottle of water on the way, more by instinct than planning. Now, seeing the girl searching for food in the trash as if it were the most normal thing in the world, he was extremely grateful he had done so. He crossed the street slowly, careful not to scare her. When he was a few meters away, he cleared his throat softly to get her attention. The girl lifted her head quickly, eyes wide with fright. When she saw Jack approaching, her whole body tensed, like an animal ready to run. "Hey, easy," Jack said, raising his hands in a peaceful gesture. "I'm not going to hurt you, I promise." She didn't run, but neither did she relax at all. She stood there watching him very cautiously, as if calculating whether she could outrun him. "You must be hungry," Jack continued, showing the bag with sandwiches. "I brought some food. Want some?" The girl's eyes locked on the bag, and Jack could see the hunger in them. But she still hesitated, clearly torn between need and distrust. "It's safe," Jack said in the gentlest voice he could. "Just sandwiches, ham and cheese. And there's a bottle of water too." Slowly, very slowly, she came closer. Jack put the bag on the ground and took a few steps back, giving her plenty of space. The girl took the bag and opened it, seeing the sandwiches carefully wrapped and the cold bottle of water. "Thank you," she said quietly, her voice almost a whisper. It was the first time Jack had heard her speak. Her voice was delicate and soft, but there was a maturity there that didn't match her apparent age at all. It was the voice of someone who had grown up too fast. "My name is Jack," he said, crouching down to be at her level. "What's yours?" She looked at him for a long moment, as if deciding whether she could trust him enough to share her name. Then, still holding the bag of food close to her chest, she answered, "Haley, I'm 5 years old." The confirmation of her age hit Jack like a punch to the stomach. 5 years old, exactly the same age as Olivia. And now that he was closer, the physical resemblance was even more impressive and disturbing. The shape of her eyes, the brow line, even the way she tilted her head slightly when she spoke, all identical to his daughter. "Haley is a very pretty name," Jack said, trying to keep his voice calm despite the whirlwind of emotions he felt. "Do you live nearby?" She shook her head no. "I don't live anywhere." "What do you mean?" Haley took a big bite of one of the sandwiches, as if she hadn't eaten in a long time, maybe days. After chewing and swallowing carefully, she looked at Jack again. "My parents died," she said with a simplicity that broke his heart. In a car accident, a few months ago. Jack felt his stomach tighten. A 5-year-old shouldn't have to talk about death so naturally. And since then I take care of myself. Is there no one else? Grandparents, uncles, anyone in your family? No, my parents didn't have much money, so we didn't know many people. No relatives nearby. She took another bite of the sandwich, chewing slowly. After they died, I didn't know where to go, so I stayed on the street. Jack felt his heart break into pieces. The idea of such a small child, the same age as Olivia, living alone on the streets for months was almost impossible to process. You stayed on the street all that time, alone? Yes. At first it was very hard and I cried a lot. But now I know how to manage. I know where to find food, where to sleep when it's cold, where to hide when there are bad people. The casual way she described her terrible situation made Jack feel even worse. Here was a 5-year-old child, exactly the same age as his protected and beloved daughter, who had learned to survive alone on the streets. And she looked exactly like Olivia. A child shouldn't have to fend for herself, Jack said, trying to control the emotion in his voice. But I can, Haley replied, though her voice didn't sound very convincing. I'm strong. I'm sure you are very strong and very brave, probably braver than most adults. But that doesn't mean you should have to do this. She finished the first sandwich and began opening the second, doing so slowly, as if she wanted the food to last as long as possible. Jack noticed her hands trembling slightly, perhaps from hunger, cold, or nerves. Haley, can I ask you a question? She nodded, still chewing. Do you have a safe place to sleep? A place where no one bothers you. Sometimes I find good places, under bridges or in abandoned buildings. There's an old house I sometimes sleep in, but only when no one else is there. She avoided his gaze. Depends on the day. Jack felt a wave of protectiveness so strong it physically hurt his chest. It was a strange and completely unexpected feeling. He barely knew this girl, had just learned her name, but something deep inside screamed that he needed to protect her. Maybe it was the impossible resemblance to Olivia. Maybe it was just fatherly instinct reacting to a child in danger. Or maybe it was something deeper and more mysterious that he still couldn't understand. Listen, Haley, he said, making a decision he knew would change everything in his life. What if you had a place to stay? A really safe place, with food every day and a warm bed. Her eyes widened in surprise. What kind of place? My house. I have a daughter your age. Her name is Olivia. Haley stopped eating completely and looked at him suspiciously. Why would you do that? You don't even know me. It was an extremely fair question, showing an intelligence and caution that broke Jack's heart. A 5-year-old child shouldn't have to be so wary of adults, because every child deserves a safe place to sleep and food on the table, he said, trying to find the right words. And because, well, you remind me a lot of my daughter. You look very alike. Alike how? Physically? You look very similar. Haley processed this information silently, finishing the second sandwich while thinking. Jack could see the gears turning in her mind, weighing risks and possibilities. Would your daughter want me to stay at your house? I'd have to ask her first. But knowing Olivia, I think she would. She has a very big heart and likes to help people. And if she doesn't want me, then we'll find another way to help you. But at least you'd have a warm, safe place to sleep for one night. Haley opened the bottle of water and took a sip, always watching Jack carefully. He could see she was thinking hard, carefully weighing all options. You don't know me, she finally said. How do you know I can be trusted? What if I steal something? The question revealed devastating maturity, a 5-year-old talking about theft as if it were a real possibility. Jack felt his heart tighten even more. Everyone deserves a chance, he said sincerely. And looking at you, talking to you, I can see you're a good person. Good people sometimes go through bad situations, but that doesn't make them bad. And how do I know I can trust you? How do I know you won't hurt me? Another question that broke Jack's heart. That's a very smart question, Haley, and unfortunately you'll have to decide for yourself. But I can promise you I would never hurt a child, never. They were silent for a few minutes. Jack didn't want to pressure her in any way, but he also couldn't stop thinking about the idea of leaving her there on the street again. The image of Haley sleeping outside, searching for food in the trash, hiding from dangerous people was unbearable. "If I come with you," Haley said very slowly, "and things don't work out, can I leave?" "Of course, you wouldn't be a prisoner in any way. You'd be a guest, and guests can leave whenever they want." She nodded thoughtfully. "Okay, but you have to ask your daughter first. It wouldn't be fair to her if you brought someone home without telling her." Jack smiled. Even in her terrible situation, Haley cared about the feelings of a girl she didn't even know. "You're right. It's very important to ask her first." "When will you ask?" "Today, when I pick her up from school. I can come back here afterwards and tell you what she says." "Where will you find me? I don't always stay in the same place. It's safer that way." "How about right here at this spot? What time can you be here?" Haley thought for a moment. 5 in the afternoon. "Perfect. I'll be here at 5 sharp." Haley finished the water and put the empty bottle back in her bag. "Thank you for the food. It's been a long time since I ate something so good." "You're welcome." "And Haley?" "Yes? If you change your mind about all this, it's okay. I won't be upset, but I really hope to see you here at 5. She gave a small smile, the first genuine smile Jack had seen since meeting her. It was a shy smile, but there was hope in it. "I'll be here," she said. Jack stood up and waved goodbye before returning to the car. When he looked in the rearview mirror, he saw Haley still standing there, holding her bag and watching him leave. On the way to the office, Jack barely managed to focus on the traffic. His mind was completely taken over by the conversation he'd just had. Haley's story, her impossible situation, the silent courage she showed, and especially the absolutely unexplainable resemblance to Olivia. At the office, Jack tried to work, but it was useless. He stared at the computer screen without processing anything, thinking about the girl alone on the street and the conversation he needed to have with Olivia. How do you explain to a 5-year-old child that there's another child who looks exactly like her living on the streets? How would Olivia react? Would it be too much for her to handle? When it was finally time to pick up Olivia from school, Jack was extremely nervous. His hands were sweaty and his heart was racing. This conversation could change everything. Olivia got into the car with her usual energy, excitedly telling about gym class where they played dodgeball and how she was the last one not to be out on her team. "So, Dad, how was your day?" she asked, fastening her seatbelt. "It was interesting," Jack said. "Olivia, remember the girl we saw yesterday, the one who looked like you?" "Of course. How could I forget? She looked exactly like me." "Yeah, I found her this morning." Olivia immediately perked up, turning in her seat to look at her dad. "Really? How is she? Did you find out her name?" "Her name is Haley, and Olivia, she's not in a very good situation." "What do you mean?" Jack chose his words very carefully. "She doesn't have a family like ours, no home to live in, no parents to take care of her." "So where does she live? On the street? Alone?" Olivia was quiet for a moment, processing the heavy information. "But she's only 5, just like me. How can she live all alone?" "She's very brave and smart. But you're right, 5 years is very young for someone to have to take care of themselves." "That's so sad, Dad. She must be scared at night." Jack's heart filled with pride for his daughter's natural empathy. "Probably, yes. And I was thinking about something and wanted to know what you think." "What?" "How about if Haley stayed with us for a few days? At least until we can find a better, more permanent place for her." Olivia didn't hesitate for a second. "Of course, she's alone, right? And 5 years is way too young to be alone on the street. Where would she sleep?" "In the guest room. She'd have a bed, food, a safe and warm place." "And could she play with my toys?" Jack smiled. "If she wanted, of course." "Dad, we have to help her. You can't leave a kid sleeping on the street." Olivia's spontaneous generosity never failed to surprise Jack. "So you agree? You won't mind having someone else in the house?" "Why would I mind? The house is big and she needs help. Besides, she looks a lot like me, so she must be a nice person. It might be strange at first, sharing space, sharing attention. Dad, Olivia said seriously, not like a 5-year-old. She doesn't have anyone in the whole world. We have each other, we have a home, we have food. Of course, we have to help. Jack felt tears welling up. You're right, love. You have an amazing heart. When will you pick her up? I arranged to meet her at 5 to give the answer. Can I go with you? Better not this time. She's still a little wary of adults and might get scared with too many people at once. How about I bring her home and you meet her here? Okay, but tell her I'm really excited to meet her. During the rest of the ride home, Olivia asked dozens of questions about Hayley. What she was like, what she liked, if she could read, if she liked cartoons. Jack answered what he could, but had to admit he didn't know Hayley very well yet. You'll have plenty of time to get to know each other, he said. When they got home, Olivia was visibly excited. She ran to the guest room and started tidying it up, placing an extra pillow on the bed, organizing some books on the nightstand, and picking some toys to share. Do you think she'll like dolls? She asked. I think she'll like whatever you want to share with her. What if she's hungry when she gets here? We have to have food ready. Jack smiled, watching his daughter prepare to welcome Hayley as if she were organizing a party. The contrast between the two situations, Olivia in her safe and loving home, Hayley alone on the street, was painful to think about. But maybe, just maybe, today that difference would begin to change. At exactly 5 o'clock, Jack parked in the usual spot. His heart was racing as he searched for Hayley on the busy street. For a moment, he feared she'd changed her mind and wouldn't show up. But then he saw her. She was sitting on the curb, a few feet from the trash bin, holding her small bag in her lap. When she saw Jack's car, she stood up slowly, still hesitant. Jack got out of the car and walked over to her. Hi, Hayley. Hi. Her voice was low, nervous. I talked to Olivia. She got very excited when she heard you'd be staying with us. Hayley's eyes lit up a little. She didn't mind. On the contrary, she said we had to help, that 5 years is way too young to be alone on the street. Hayley smiled shyly. She seems nice. She is very nice, and she's looking forward to meeting you. Jack paused. So, what did you decide? Hayley looked at the bag in her hands, then at Jack. If I come with you and it doesn't work out, can I leave? Of course. You can leave whenever you want. And what if your daughter doesn't like me? That won't happen. But if for some reason you don't get along, we'll find another solution. Hayley took a deep breath. Okay, I'll go. On the way home, Hayley stayed quiet in the back seat, looking out the window attentively. Jack tried to make conversation, but noticed she was too nervous to talk much. The house isn't very big, he said, but it's comfortable. You'll like it. Okay. Olivia cleaned up the guest room for you. She put some toys there too. She didn't have to. She wanted to. She likes sharing. When they arrived, Olivia was waiting at the living room window. As soon as she saw the car, she ran to the door. Jack got out first and helped Hayley down. The two girls looked at each other in silence for a few seconds. It was even more impressive to see them side by side. The resemblance was impossible. Hi, Olivia finally said. Are you Hayley? Yes. Hayley's voice was almost a whisper. I'm Olivia. My dad said you're going to stay here for a few days. Yes, if everything goes well. It will. Want to come in? I can show you the house. Hayley looked at Jack as if asking permission. He nodded encouragingly. Go ahead. Olivia will take good care of you. They entered together, walking side by side. Jack followed, watching their interaction. It was surreal and moving at the same time. Olivia showed every room in the house, explaining its purpose and telling little stories about each place. Hayley listened carefully, but Jack could see she was still cautious. And this is your room, Olivia said, opening the door to the guest room. I put some toys on the table and added an extra pillow on the bed. Hayley entered the room slowly. as if she couldn't believe that space was hers. She touched the bed gently, looked at the toys arranged on the table. "Is it really mine?" she asked. "Yes. While you're here, it's your room." "Thank you." Haley's voice was emotional. "Want to take a shower?" Olivia asked. "I have strawberry-scented shampoo. It smells really nice." Haley looked at Jack again. "Can I?" "Of course. Olivia, show her where the clean towels are and see if there's any clothes that fit Haley." While Haley showered, Olivia ran to her own room and came back with a pile of clothes. "I picked some things I think will look nice on you," she said, laying everything on the bed. When Haley came out of the bathroom, clean and wearing Olivia's pajamas, Jack had to lean on the wall. The resemblance between them now was absolutely striking. It was like seeing two versions of the same person. "Wow," Olivia said, looking at Haley. "We really do look like twin sisters." "It's true," Haley agreed, smiling for the first time since she arrived. "Want to watch cartoons with me?" "I do." They sat on the couch together, and Jack watched them from the kitchen while preparing dinner. It was amazing to see how naturally they fit together, as if they had known each other for years. During dinner, Haley ate slowly, savoring every bite. Jack noticed she finished everything on her plate, like someone who wasn't sure when the next meal would come. "Is the food good?" Olivia asked. "Very good. It's been a long time since I ate hot food." "Here we eat hot food every day," Olivia said naturally. "Tomorrow my dad is making pancakes for breakfast." "Do you like pancakes?" "I don't know, I've never had them." "Really, they're delicious, especially with honey." Jack watched their conversation, noticing how Olivia naturally included Haley in her routine, talking about tomorrow, as if it were obvious Haley would be there. After dinner, they watched some more TV together. Haley gradually relaxed, laughing at the cartoons and making comments. When it was time for bed, Jack went to check if everything was okay in Haley's room. "Do you need anything?" he asked. "No, everything's perfect." Haley was sitting on the bed, holding her old bag. "Jack." "Yes. Thank you for letting me stay here." "You're welcome, Haley." "Sleep well." Jack also checked on Olivia, who was too excited to sleep. "Dad, it's amazing how much we look alike," she said. "It's like I have a sister I didn't know existed." "It really is impressive," Jack agreed. "I think we're going to be great friends." "I think so too." Jack kissed Olivia's forehead and turned off the light. Then he went to his own room but couldn't fall asleep immediately. He stayed awake listening to the sounds of the house. It was the first time in years there were more than 2 people sleeping there. He could hear the peaceful breathing coming from both girls' rooms. 2 girls who looked impossibly alike. 2 girls who, even without knowing each other, seemed to recognize one another instinctively. And then the memory came back. Seeing Haley, especially side by side with Olivia, brought back a memory Jack had buried 5 years ago. The day Olivia was born. He remembered that morning perfectly. Lauren had started having contractions during the night. They rushed to the hospital, nervous and excited. Jack remembered waiting outside the delivery room, pacing the hallway. Lauren's contractions were strong, but the doctor said it might take a while. He went to get coffee at the hospital cafeteria. He had been too nervous to wait still. When he returned less than an hour later, a nurse came to talk to him. "Your baby was born," she said with a smile. Jack rushed to the room, eager to see Lauren and meet the baby. But when he entered the room, something was wrong. Lauren was in bed, holding Olivia in her arms, but she didn't look like Jack expected a mother to look after giving birth. There was no joy on her face, no sparkle he had imagined. She was pale, distant, as if she were in another world. "Lauren, is everything okay?" he asked, approaching the bed. "Everything's fine," she replied, but without looking at him. Her voice was strange, mechanical. Jack looked at the baby in her arms. Olivia was small and perfect, sleeping peacefully, but Lauren held her oddly, as if she didn't quite know what to do. "So she's beautiful," Jack said, trying to touch the baby's face. "Yes," Lauren agreed, but still without emotion. "How was the birth? Are you feeling okay?" "I'm tired." Her answer was short, final. Jack remembered trying to ask more questions, trying to understand why Lauren was so strange, but she closed her eyes and pretended to sleep. In the days that followed, Lauren remained distant. She cared for Olivia, but mechanically, without the natural affection Jack expected to see. When he asked if she was okay, she always gave the same answer: "Everything's fine." But she never explained anything more. Jack attributed everything to exhaustion and postpartum hormones. The first months with a baby are hard for any mother. He tried to be understanding and patient, but now, 5 years later, with Haley sleeping in the next room, that strangeness came back to his mind in full force. There was something about that day that always bothered him, something he never managed to identify, but that was always there, lurking in the back of his mind. Lauren had been too strange, too distant, and whenever he tried to talk about the birth, about how it went, she changed the subject. Now, seeing a girl identical to his daughter, Jack couldn't stop thinking about that day, about Lauren's strange behavior, the way she held Olivia, the coldness in her eyes. Something had happened that day, something Lauren never told. Something was hidden. Jack stayed awake for hours, going over every detail he could remember, every word, every gesture, every expression on Lauren's face, and the more he thought about it, the more certain he became that something was very wrong with that story. Finally, he managed to fall asleep, but his dreams were confusing and disturbing. He dreamed of two identical girls, of Lauren holding a baby coldly, of secrets buried for years. The next morning, Jack woke up early and went to the kitchen to make coffee. He was still processing the memories of the night before when he heard noise coming from the living room. Olivia was already awake and had come downstairs to play. Jack found her on the living room rug, surrounded by toys. "Good morning, love. You woke up early today." "Good morning, Dad. I thought I could pick out some nice toys to show Haley." Jack smiled. "That's very kind of you." A few minutes later, Haley came downstairs too. She was wearing the clothes Olivia had picked out, and her hair was combed. She looked like a completely different child from the dirty girl Jack had found on the street. "Good morning," she said timidly. "Good morning. Come here. I picked some toys for us to play with," Olivia said, making space on the rug. Haley approached slowly and sat next to Olivia. Her eyes scanned all the scattered toys, as if she couldn't believe there were so many things to play with. "You can pick any you want," Olivia said. Haley looked at everything with wonder. There were dolls, cars, building blocks, coloring books, crayons. It was more toys than she had probably seen in her whole life. Carefully, she picked up a brown-haired doll. She held it gently, as if it were something very precious. "When my parents were alive," she said quietly, "I only had one doll." Olivia stopped organizing the toys and looked at Haley. What was she like? "Very small. She had blonde hair and a blue dress. My mum gave her to me on my 4th birthday." Haley caressed the doll's hair she was holding. "I lost her when I had to leave home." "Do you want this doll?" Olivia asked. "You can keep it if you want." "Really?" "Of course. I have lots of dolls. And you take good care of her." Haley smiled, a true smile full of gratitude. "Thank you." Jack watched their interaction from the kitchen doorway. There was something magical about the way they understood each other. Olivia naturally shared and included. Haley naturally accepted and appreciated. "Want to play house?" Olivia asked. "We can be sisters in the game." "I want to," Haley said, getting excited. They started playing, such creating elaborate stories with the dolls, building houses with blocks, drawing together, and they laughed. Laughed a lot. It was a natural, spontaneous laughter, as if they were old friends reunited after a long time. Jack kept watching, fascinated. The bond between them was forming quickly, naturally. It wasn't just the physical resemblance that connected them. It was something deeper. It was as if they recognized each other on a level beyond appearance, as if there was a connection that existed even before they met. Jack made the promised pancakes. But his mind was torn between the joy of seeing the girls get along so well and the disturbing memories of the night before. There was something about Haley, about the resemblance to Olivia, about Lauren's strange behavior years ago, that he needed to understand. The bond between the girls was starting before the truth, but Jack knew the truth, whatever it was, would eventually come out. And when it did, it would change everything. Jack couldn't sleep well the third night since Haley had been home. The memories of Olivia's birth hammered in his mind, mixed with the image of the two girls playing together as if they were sisters. The resemblance between them was impossible to ignore. Two 5-year-old girls as exactly alike, one living comfortably in his home and the other who had spent months alone on the street. There had to be an explanation. The next morning, Jack made a decision that would change everything. After dropping the girls off at school, he drove downtown and found the office of Marcus Webb, a private detective recommended by a co-worker. Marcus was known for being discreet and efficient. The office was on the second floor of an old commercial building. Jack climbed the stairs with his heart pounding. Marcus greeted him, a middle-aged man, professional-looking, who inspired confidence. "How can I help you?" Marcus asked, motioning to a chair. Jack took a deep breath. "I need information about a child. A 5-year-old girl named Haley." "What kind of information?" "Anything you can find, where she was born, when she was born, who her parents are. She told me her parents died in a car accident a few months ago." Marcus took out a notepad. "Do you have her full name?" "Haley, I don't know the last name." "She mentioned her parents were named Thompson, I think." "Any other information?" Jack hesitated. How to explain that this girl looked exactly like his daughter? "She's 5 years old, and, well, there's a very strong resemblance to my daughter. I need to understand if there's any connection." Marcus nodded without asking questions. "I'll see what I can find out." "It might take a few days." "That's fine. And Marcus, this needs to stay between us." "Of course." Total discretion. Jack paid the retainer and left the office feeling a mix of relief and anxiety. Now he just had to wait. The next 3 days went slowly. Jack tried to keep a normal routine, taking the girls to school, working, preparing dinner. But his mind was constantly split between watching Haley and Olivia together and imagining what Marcus might discover. The two girls were adapting perfectly. They played together, laughed together, looked like real sisters. The bond between them grew every day. Finally, Marcus called. "Jack, I need to talk to you." "I got the information. Can I come over now?" "Better that way." Jack made up an excuse at work and drove to Marcus's office with his heart pounding. The detective was waiting with a folder on the desk and a serious expression. "Have a seat," Marcus said. "What I found out is very interesting." Jack sat on the edge of the chair. "What did you find?" "First, I confirmed that the girl's name is Haley Marie Thompson. The adoptive parents, David and Linda Thompson, did die in a car accident 3 months ago." "Adoptive parents?" "Yes, they adopted Haley when she was a baby. And here comes the interesting part." Marcus checked his notes. "Haley was born on March 15th, 2019. Jack felt his blood run cold. "March 15? "Exactly. At St. Mary's Central Hospital." Jack's world stopped. March 15th, 2019, St. Mary's Central Hospital, exactly the same day and place Olivia was born. That can't be right," he murmured. "I checked several times. Born the same day, same hospital as your daughter." Jack gripped the sides of the chair. "Who are the biological parents?" Marcus went back to the notes. "The biological mother's name is Sarah Chen. She was 17 years old at the time of birth. The father is not identified in the records." "Sarah Chen," Jack repeated the name, trying to process the information. "According to the files, she gave the baby up for adoption immediately after birth. The Thompsons were waiting to adopt and took Haley home from the hospital." Jack could barely breathe. Same day, same hospital, but different parents. How was this possible? Is there more information about that day, about what happened at the hospital? "I'm still investigating, but I can say it was an unusual situation. 2 babies born on the same day at the same hospital. who looked very similar, very similar. The nurses made notes about it. Apparently, the two babies were almost identical. Jack felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath his feet. Two identical babies, born the same day, in the same hospital. "That's too much of a coincidence," he murmured. "That's what I think too. I'll keep investigating, but wanted to share these initial findings." Jack got up from the chair, needing to move. "The discovery was impossible to process. I need to know more. About Sarah Chen, about what happened that day, about why the babies looked so alike. It will take more time and investigation, but I can continue. Keep going. I need the truth." Jack paid Marcus and left the office in shock. In the parking lot, he stood beside his car trying to organize his thoughts. Haley was born the same day as Olivia, in the same hospital. Two almost identical babies, born to different mothers, in completely different circumstances. He drove home on autopilot, his mind spinning with impossible possibilities. When he arrived, he found the girls playing in the backyard. They were chasing butterflies, laughing, their voices mixing in the air. Jack watched them from the kitchen window. Two identical girls, born on the same day in the same place, to different mothers. "This can't just be a coincidence," he murmured to himself. Because it wasn't coincidence. It was something much bigger, much more complex and disturbing than he ever imagined. The truth was starting to reveal itself, one piece at a time. Jack parked in front of St. Mary's Central Hospital, his hands sweaty on the steering wheel. Since talking to Marcus, he couldn't stop thinking about the impossible coincidence. Two identical babies born the same day, in the same hospital. There had to be more information. He needed to find out the truth about that day 5 years ago. The hospital was a large old building, with several expansions made over the years. Jack entered through the main door and went to the information desk. "Good morning. I need to speak with someone about birth records from 5 years ago." The receptionist, a young woman looking tired, looked at him without much interest. "What kind of information?" "My daughter was born here in March 2019. I need to verify some details on the record." "You have to go to the medical records department, 3rd floor, West Wing." Jack took the elevator, his heart beating faster. On the 3rd floor, he found a sign indicating medical records and followed the hallway to a small room. A middle-aged woman was sitting behind a desk piled with papers. She looked up as Jack entered. "Can I help you?" "I need information about a birth in March 2019. My daughter, Olivia Miller." The woman sighed. "Sir, we had a fire 3 years ago. We lost most of the documentation prior to 2021. The old records were destroyed." Jack felt his stomach tighten. Everything was lost. "Unfortunately, yes. It was a big fire in the basement where we kept the physical files. The digital backups from that time were also compromised. Nothing left. Very little. Some documents that were in other departments at the time, but most were lost." Jack leaned on the desk, trying not to show the despair he felt. "What about the people who worked here then? Nurses, doctors?" The woman thought for a moment. "Some still work here. Why don't you try HR? They might be able to point you to someone who was here in 2019. Jack thanked her and went down to the Human Resources Department. There he explained his situation to an employee who seemed kinder. March 2019. "Let me see." She typed on the computer. "We have some nurses who worked in the maternity ward then. Donna Hayes is one of them. She's worked here for over 20 years. Is she here today?" "Yes. Afternoon shift in maternity. But you'll need authorization to speak with her during work hours." "It's very important." "It's about my daughter's birth." The employee looked at Jack with compassion. "I'll call her and see if she can meet you for a few minutes." After some calls, they managed to arrange a meeting with Donna Hayes in the maternity break room during her break. Jack went up to the 4th floor and found the maternity ward. It was a bright and busy environment, with nurses going back and forth in the halls. He waited nervously in the break room. Donna Hayes arrived a few minutes later. She was a woman in her 50s, gray-haired, with the tired look of someone who's worked decades in healthcare. "Did you want to talk to me?" she asked, sitting down in a chair. "Yes. I'm Jack Miller. My daughter was born here in March 2019. Olivia Miller. Do you remember?" Donna thought for a moment, frowning. 2019. March. There were so many births. "Do you have a photo of your daughter?" Jack took out his phone and showed a photo of Olivia. Donna looked at the screen and her expression completely changed. Her face turned pale. "Where did you get that photo?" she asked, her voice trembling. "It's my daughter, Olivia. Why?" Donna kept looking at the photo, her hands trembling slightly. "Mr. Miller, I need to tell you something." Jack felt his heart race. "What?" Donna looked around the room to make sure they were alone. Then she turned to Jack with a look of deep guilt. "Your wife, Lauren Miller, I remember her." "What do you remember?" Donna took a deep breath as if preparing for a confession. "Your wife had twins." Jack felt as if he'd been punched in the stomach. "What?" "Identical twins, 2 girls. They were born in the early hours of March 15th. "That's impossible. I only have one daughter." "Just Olivia." "I know it sounds impossible, but I was there. I helped with the delivery." Donna ran her hands over her face. "Your wife? She was very strange after the birth. Very quiet, distant." Jack leaned forward. "What happened?" "She called me aside and asked me for a terrible thing." Donna paused, clearly struggling to find the words. "She asked me to take one of the babies away." "Take where?" "Far away. She said they couldn't raise 2 children, that it was impossible financially, emotionally, that even one child would be too hard." Jack couldn't process what he was hearing. "And you did it." Donna began to cry silently. "I didn't know what to do. She was desperate, begging. She said if I didn't help, she would do something worse. Something worse. She threatened to hurt one of the babies if I didn't take her away. I was scared." Jack felt nauseous. "So you took one of the babies?" "Something happened that very night. A woman who was hospitalized on the floor below lost her baby during delivery. She was devastated, crying, inconsolable. And I gave the second baby to her." Donna covered her face with her hands. "I said it was a miracle, that God was giving her a second chance." Jack was silent for a few seconds, trying to absorb the enormity of what he had just heard. "How did you manage to do that? Aren't there records?" "Documents. Your wife didn't want to register the second baby. She said officially she only had one daughter. I forged some papers, made it look like the woman who lost the baby had actually given birth." "What was that woman's name?" "Sarah Chen. She was very young, alone. She had lost the baby and was devastated." Jack remembered what Marcus had found out. Sarah Chen was the name of Haley's biological mother in the records. And then, what happened? "Sarah left the hospital with the baby a few days later. I never heard what happened to them." Donna looked at Jack with tear-filled eyes. "I committed a crime, I know that, but at the time it seemed like the only solution." "Do you remember the baby's name?" "The name my wife was going to give." "No, your wife refused to name the second baby. She said if she wasn't going to stay, she didn't need a name." Jack felt anger rising inside him. Lauren had completely rejected one of her daughters. "I just obeyed," Donna continued. "I never questioned or investigated. I just did what your wife asked and tried to help Sarah at the same time. Did you ever think about telling me? Your wife made me promise never to say anything. She said if anyone knew, she would deny everything and report me for kidnapping." Donna wiped her tears. "I was scared. And after a while, I convinced myself I had done the right thing." Jack got up from the chair, needing to move. His mind was in total chaos. "I never knew what happened after," Donna said quietly. "I always wondered about that baby, if she was okay, if Sarah managed to take care of her." Jack looked at Donna, a mixture of anger and pity in his chest. "I found her," he said. "The second baby. Her name is Haley now." Donna's eyes widened. "You found her? How is she?" "Living on the street. Sarah Chen died a few months ago in a car accident." Donna covered her mouth with her hands, crying again. Jack left the room without saying more. He finally had the truth, but it was worse than anything he imagined. Lauren had chosen to keep one daughter and discard the other like garbage. And now the two sisters were under the same roof, unaware they were twins. Jack stayed up all night, staring at the ceiling and thinking about how to tell Haley what he had discovered. Donna Hayes' words echoed in his mind like a hammer. "Your wife had twins. She asked me to take one away." How do you explain to a 5-year-old child that she had a twin sister and that her biological mother had rejected her? How do you tell her the family she thought was hers wasn't completely real? How do you do that without destroying the innocence still left in those big, smart eyes? Jack got up several times during the night, going to the window of the bedroom to look at the backyard where he planned to have that conversation. He rehearsed the words mentally, trying to find a gentle way to deliver such a heavy truth. When the sun rose, painting the sky orange, Jack had already made the decision. Haley deserved to know the truth. She had the right to understand who she really was, where she came from, and why her life had been so hard. After breakfast, when Olivia was comfortably settled in the living room watching her favorite cartoons, Jack called Haley. "Haley, can you come with me to the backyard? I need to talk to you about something very important." She looked up from the bowl of cereal she was finishing. "Is it something bad?" Jack hesitated. "It's something important you need to know." She nodded and followed him to the backyard, where they sat at the wooden table under the big tree that shaded that part of the garden. It was a beautiful morning, with birds singing and the sun shining softly through the green leaves, the kind of morning that should be reserved for happy things, not life-changing revelations. Jack looked at Haley, noticing again how much she looked exactly like Olivia. Now that he knew the truth, the resemblance was no longer an unexplainable mystery. It was physical proof of something that should never have happened. "Haley," he began, choosing each word with extreme care. "Remember I said I was trying to find out more about your family, about when you were born?" She nodded, nervously playing with the grass next to the chair. "About when I was born?" "Exactly. I discovered some very important things I need to tell you." Haley stopped playing and looked at him with full attention. Jack could see the intelligence in her eyes, the forced maturity that life's circumstances had created. "What kind of things?" Jack took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "You were born on the same day as Olivia." "On the same day?" Haley tilted her head, processing. "What do you mean?" "You and Olivia were born on March 15th, 5 years ago. Exactly the same day." Haley processed this information slowly, her eyebrows furrowing in concentration. "That means we're exactly the same age. Not just 5 years old, but exactly the same age." "Yes, you were born on the same day, the same early morning, in the same hospital." Jack paused, preparing for the hardest part. "And Mom was Lauren." Haley grew very quiet. Jack could practically see the gears in her mind working, trying to fit this new information with everything she thought she knew about herself. "Lauren was my mom too?" "She was, yes. But I always thought my mum was Sarah. That's what Dad David always told me." Jack felt his heart tighten, seeing the confusion in her eyes. "Sarah cared for you like a true mother. She loved you like a mother loves a child. She was your mom in every way that matters. But the one who gave birth to you, who brought you into the world, was Lauren." Haley was silent for a long time, looking down at her hands folded in her lap. Jack waited patiently, letting her process the information at her own pace. He knew he couldn't rush this moment. "So," she finally said, her voice very low and hesitant, "if Lauren was my mom too, and you're Olivia's dad, that means—" She paused, as if afraid to finish the thought. "That you're my dad?" The words came out as a question filled with hope and fear at the same time. Jack could see in her eyes that she wanted it to be true, but was also afraid of being disappointed. Jack felt tears welling up. "Yes, I am." Haley looked straight into his eyes, searching for any sign of doubt or lie. "Really? Are you sure?" "Really. "You're my daughter, Haley. You've always been my daughter, even when I didn't know." For a moment that felt like an eternity. Neither of them moved. Jack expected her to cry, to ask 1,000 questions, to be confused or upset or angry. But Haley simply looked at him with those big, too wise for her age eyes. Then, without saying a word, she calmly got up from the chair and went to Jack. She wrapped her small arms tightly around him in a hug, as if she were hugging someone she hadn't seen in a long time. Jack hugged her back, feeling as if his heart was going to burst with emotion. She was so small, so physically fragile, but her hug had a strength and determination that surprised him. "I always knew," she whispered against his chest. "Knew what?" "That you were special. From the first day you gave me food on the street. There was something different about the way you looked at me." Jack tightened the hug, tears running down his face. "I'm so sorry, Haley. I'm so sorry for everything you went through alone. If I had known you existed..." "It wasn't your fault," she said, still hugging him. "You didn't know. No one told you. But now I know. And now I'll take care of you forever. Forever. Forever." They stayed hugged for several minutes, silent, just feeling connected for the first time as father and daughter. Jack felt as if he was finally whole, as if a part of him that had always been missing had come home. "And now?" Haley asked when they finally separated. "And what's going to happen? Now you stay here with us. This is your home, your family, forever. And Olivia? Will she know we're sisters? We'll tell her when you're ready. It doesn't have to be today if you don't want. But she already loves you like a sister." Haley smiled for the first time since the conversation started. "I love her too. She's the first real friend I've ever had, and I love both of you, more than anything in the world." They spent more time talking in the backyard, with Jack answering Haley's questions about family, about what would happen now, about what it would be like living there permanently. Each answer seemed to bring more relief and happiness to her face. That night, Jack barely slept again, but this time for completely different reasons. It wasn't anxiety or worry. It was a strange and wonderful feeling of completeness he hadn't felt in years. The next morning, after a breakfast where Haley seemed more relaxed and happier than ever, Jack called her again. "Haley, do you want to come with me to do something very special today?" "What thing?" "Today we're going to set up your room, for real this time. You can choose everything you want." Her eyes lit up like Jack had never seen before. "Really? Really? New clothes, furniture if needed, decorations, toys. Everything you want to have a room that's truly yours." Jack explained to Olivia that they were going out to do special shopping for Haley's room, and Olivia was visibly excited. "Can I go too? I want to help pick things." "This time just Haley and I are going, but you can help decorate and organize everything when we get back." "Okay, buy really pretty things for her. And ask if she wants anything pink, because I have some pink stickers I can give her." Jack and Haley went out together, driving to the city's shopping center. In the car, Haley was quiet, but Jack could see excitement in her eyes. "I never picked out my own room stuff," she said suddenly. "That never. No. When I lived with Sarah and David, I always used whatever was in the house. And then, well, after that I didn't have a room at all." Jack felt a pang of sadness. "But now it will be different. Now everything will be chosen by you. Really everything. Everything. It's your room, your things, your choices." The first stop was the children's clothing store. Haley walked slowly down the aisles, touching the clothes with reverent care, as if she couldn't believe she could pick whatever she wanted. "Pick whatever you like," Jack said. "No need to save." She carefully chose a few pieces: comfortable jeans, colorful t-shirts, a light blue dress she found especially pretty, soft pajamas, fun socks with animal prints. She didn't ask for much, just what she thought was necessary, but Jack could see genuine joy on her face with every choice. "Are you sure that's all?" Jack asked. "For now, yes. If I need more, can I ask later?" "Of course. Always. Then they went to the bookstore. Haley spent a long time looking at children's books, carefully flipping through some, reading the first pages of others. Can I pick as many books as I want? As many as you want. She ended up choosing 4 books, one about wild animals, an illustrated fairy tales book, one about astronomy that made her especially curious, and one with activities to help her learn to write better. I've always wanted to know about the stars, she explained. And I want to learn to write stories too. At the toy store, Haley went straight to the doll section. She carefully chose a doll with wavy brown hair, very similar to her and Olivia. To remind me that now I have a real sister, she explained. Jack felt his heart tighten again at the sweetness of her explanation. It's a perfect choice. They also bought some stickers to decorate the walls, golden stars, silver moons, and some cute animals Haley liked. They bought a new moon-shaped lamp and constellation-patterned bedding that matched perfectly with the astronomy book. When they returned home, Olivia was waiting eagerly at the front door. What did you buy? Can I see everything? Haley proudly showed each item to Olivia, and Olivia was genuinely excited about every choice. What a beautiful doll! And look at these star stickers. Shall we decorate the room now? Can I help? Haley looked at Jack, still checking if she had permission. Of course. It's your room. The 2 girls ran upstairs to the room that had been the guest room, which now would officially and permanently be Haley's room. Jack followed, carrying all the shopping bags. Olivia helped Haley stick the stickers on the walls carefully. Golden stars scattered like a galaxy, silver moons in strategic spots, some cute animals near the bed. They put the new books on the small shelf, arranged the new doll on the bed along with the new constellation-patterned bedding. Jack assembled the new moon-shaped lamp while the girls carefully organized the new clothes in the closet, folded and arranged as Olivia had taught. It's looking amazing, Olivia said, looking around with satisfaction. It looks like a space princess's room. Haley stood right in the middle of the room, slowly spinning to look at everything around her. Her things, her choices, her space, her home. Do you like it? Jack asked, watching the expression on her face. She didn't answer immediately. She just stood there, absorbing every detail, every corner, everything that was hers. Then she smiled, a quiet, satisfied smile full of something Jack took a moment to fully identify. It was belonging. It was peace. It was the feeling of finally being home. It's perfect, she finally said, her voice full of restrained emotion. It's more beautiful than I ever imagined. Olivia ran and hugged Haley. Now you have a real room. A room that's just yours. I do. Haley looked around again, gently touching the wall where the stickers were stuck. Now I have a place that's just mine. Jack watched the 2 girls together in the newly decorated room, hugging and smiling. A week ago, Haley was completely alone on the street, with no family, no home, nothing but an old bag with a few belongings. Now she was home, in her real home, with her sister, with her dad. Finally, after 5 years of separation that should never have happened, she had a place of her own. It had been a week since Jack told Haley the truth about her origins. The girl was adapting well to the new reality, but Jack could see there were still moments when she was quiet, processing everything she had discovered about herself. It was a Friday afternoon, and the girls were playing in the backyard while Jack prepared dinner. Through the kitchen window, he watched them running between the trees, their laughter echoing through the air. It was amazing how much they looked alike, not just physically but in their gestures, the way they ran, even in how they laughed. When he called the 2 to dinner, Haley was the first to come in, washing her hands at the kitchen sink as she always did. She had developed the habit of being the first to get ready for meals, as if she still couldn't quite believe there would always be food on the table. During dinner, the conversation flowed naturally among the 3. Olivia talked about school, her friends, the teacher who had praised her drawing. Haley listened attentively, asking questions, joining in as if she had always been part of those family talks. But Jack noticed she was quieter than usual. There was something in her eyes, a thoughtful expression he had learned to recognize. After dinner, when Olivia went upstairs to shower, Hayley stayed in the living room with Jack. She sat on the couch beside him, but didn't turn on the TV like she usually did. "Jack," she said, her voice hesitant. "Yes. Do you have a photo of my mom?" Jack felt his heart tighten. Since telling Hayley the truth, she hadn't asked about Lauren. He knew this question would come eventually, but wasn't prepared for it yet. "I do," he said softly. "Dad, do you want to see it?" She nodded, her hands folded in her lap. Jack got up and went to the office, where he kept some old photos in a drawer. He took out a photo of Lauren taken a few months before Olivia was born. It was a beautiful photo, where Lauren smiled genuinely at the camera. He returned to the living room and sat next to Hayley again. "This is your mum," he said, handing her the photo. Hayley took the photo carefully, as if it was something very fragile. Her eyes studied every detail of Lauren's face, examining the features, the expression, the hair. "She's pretty," Hayley finally said, her voice full of emotion. "And she looks like us." Jack looked at the photo with her. It was true. Lauren had the same eyes as Hayley and Olivia, the same face shape, the same curve of the lips. The resemblance was undeniable. "Yes, you take after her a lot in looks," Jack agreed. Hayley continued looking at the photo silently for several minutes. Jack could see tears forming in her eyes, but she didn't cry. "I keep thinking," she finally said. "Why didn't she want me?" Jack felt like he'd been punched in the stomach. It was the question he feared most, because he didn't have an answer that would make sense to a 5-year-old. "Hayley, it's nothing to do with you. You're perfect, wonderful. The problem was with her, not you." "But why only Olivia? Why not both?" Jack took a deep breath. "I don't know, love. Sometimes people make choices we can't understand. Wrong choices." Hayley nodded slowly, still looking at the photo. "You know what I think?" "What?" "I think she lost a lot. She lost the chance to know me, to see how I grew up, to know that I'm brave and strong." Hayley's mature words moved Jack. "You're right. She lost a lot. And I lost too," Hayley continued. "I lost the chance to have a real mother from the start. But," she paused, choosing her words carefully, "I will never forget the mom and dad who raised me," she said firmly. "Sarah and David truly loved me. They were my family when I needed it most." Jack felt tears welling up. They were special people. They were. And even if it wasn't forever, they gave me love when I was little. That will never change. Hayley looked at Jack with those eyes too wise for her age. "But now I know where I came from. I know I have a sister, that I have you, and I'm not alone anymore." Jack reached out and held Hayley's small hand. "You'll never be alone again, I promise." She smiled and cuddled next to him on the couch. "Can I keep the photo?" "Of course. It's yours." That night, Jack went to bed feeling something different. The pain of the past, the guilt of not knowing about Hayley, Lauren's anger for making that terrible choice, all of it was beginning to dissolve. What mattered now was the future, building a real and complete family. The next Sunday, Jack woke up with an idea. It was a beautiful, sunny day with that kind of blue sky that begged to be enjoyed outdoors. "Girls," he said during breakfast, "how about we go to the park today?" "Really?" Olivia immediately got excited. "Can we bring the ball?" "And have a picnic?" Hayley asked timidly. "Of course. We'll bring everything." An hour later, the three of them were at the city's Central Park. Jack carried a picnic basket they had prepared together, with sandwiches, fruit, juice, and some cookies. Olivia ran ahead, carrying a colorful ball, while Hayley walked beside Jack, looking around with curiosity. The park was full of families enjoying the sunny Sunday. Children played on the playground, couples walked the trails, groups had picnics on the grass. "Where do we go first?" Jack asked. "Swing," Olivia shouted, running toward the playground. Hayley followed her more slowly, but Jack could see excitement growing in her eyes. When they reached the swings, Olivia was already climbing onto one. "Come on, Hayley, sit here next to me." Hayley sat on the swing next to Olivia, and Jack pushed them one at a time. The two laughed loudly, competing to see who could go higher. "Look, Jack! I'm almost flying," Olivia shouted. "Me too," Haley laughed, her hair flying in the wind. Jack watched them, feeling his heart fill with a happiness he hadn't felt in years. This was what a family should be. Simple moments, spontaneous laughter, shared joy. After the swings, they ran across the grass. The girls played tag between the trees, while Jack chased them, pretending he couldn't catch them. Their laughter echoed through the park, mixing with the sounds of other families playing. When they finally stopped for the picnic, they were all a bit out of breath and happy. Jack spread a blanket on the grass and they sat in a circle to eat. "This is the best Sunday of my life," Haley said, taking a bite of a sandwich. "Mine too," Olivia agreed. "We should do this every Sunday." "We can do it whenever you want," Jack said. They were finishing their food when a man approached them. He was a street photographer, with a professional camera hanging around his neck. "Sorry to bother you," he said with a friendly smile. "You look like a very happy family. Would you like a photo of the three of you?" Jack looked at the girls. "What do you think?" "I want one," Olivia said immediately. Haley nodded, a little shy but smiling. "Then let's do it," Jack said. They positioned themselves together on the picnic blanket. Jack in the middle, with Olivia on one side and Haley on the other. The girls snuggled against him, genuine smiles on their faces. "Say family," the photographer said. "Family," the three voices shouted in unison. The camera clicked, capturing the moment. Three people who had found each other and were finally complete. The photographer took a few more shots and promised he'd be at the park next week with the developed photos, in case they wanted to buy them. The rest of the afternoon flew by. They played ball, walked the park trails, and Haley even tried the slide with Olivia's encouragement. When the sun began to set, they packed up and went home, tired but happy. A week later, Jack returned to the park and found the photographer. He bought several copies of the photo, one for each girl's room, one for his office, and a special larger one for the living room. That night, after dinner, he showed the photos to the girls. "They look beautiful," Olivia said, taking one of the copies. "Look how happy we look." "Can we put one in the living room?" Haley asked. "Sure, you can choose where to put it." They went to the living room, and Olivia helped Haley choose the perfect frame from the shelf. Together, they put the larger photo in the frame and placed it in the place of honor in the living room, right in the center of the main shelf. "There," Olivia said, stepping back to admire the result. "Now everyone who comes in here will know we're a family." Haley smiled and leaned on Olivia's shoulder. "I always wanted a sister. I just didn't know she already existed." Jack felt tears welling up again. "And I always wanted to have you both. I just didn't know a part of me was missing." The two girls ran to him and hugged him, a tight group hug that lasted several minutes. When they finally separated, Jack looked around the room. Their smiling photo took center stage. Toys scattered across the floor, small shoes by the entrance, sounds of life in every corner. Jack looked at his two daughters, Olivia with her curls tousled from the day at the park, Haley with that shy but genuine smile he was getting to know. The house was alive. The family was whole. Finally, after 5 years of separation that should never have happened, they were all where they belonged and together at home, complete.